Joining me now is the Nigerian Stock Exchange CEO, Mr. Oscar Onyema. Welcome, Mr. Onyema.
Thank
now,
you.
You've told me that you've been coming to Davos since 2011. What's changed since then?
A lot. For one, a number of people have changed, but more importantly, the issues that have been discussed have dramatically shifted. So if you look at the risk report that was recently released, the top 5 global risks have to do with the environment, with climate risk being number 1. Back then, they did not feature that high. So certainly the narrative has shifted. Another thing that is interesting is the whole global order around multilateral institutions. It seems to be breaking down, and you have more protectionism and nationalism, and so we have to find new ways to create global responses to global disasters like financial shocks that inevitably would happen because it happens in cycles. So certainly a lot has changed, and this year WEF is also celebrating 50 years. Yeah.
Definitely an evolving landscape. But what is at Davos for the Nigerian Stock Exchange? What is it that you hope to accomplish here?
So we have a number of global CEOs of multinational listed companies that are here. So we'll be having bilaterals. We'll also be engaging with some public sector figures supporting our own delegation here. And finally, we'll be engaging in various panel discussions around the future of finance, how you drive growth in Africa, the Africa Free Trade Agreement, how you can actually operationalize it and begin to use it as a catalyst for sustainability and coming into the 4th Industrial Revolution. So there are a number of various types of discussions going on that we'll be participating in.
Now, taking the discussion closer to home, can you please explain to me the rationale behind getting 7 African stock exchanges within a single trading platform?
It's not actually a single trading platform, it's a linkage. So what we're looking to do is to link our markets and give investors in domestic economies the opportunities to access assets cross-border. So a Nigerian investor can, sit in Nigeria and buy shares across these 7 countries, including South Africa, Egypt, Morocco, Kenya, Cote d'Ivoire, which covers the French-speaking West African countries, Nigeria, Mauritius. Between those 7 markets, we cover over 85 to 90% of activity on the continent. So it's basically a way to give investors an opportunity to access African markets, both intra-Africa and outside of Africa. So, and we also think that with the signing of the Africa Free Trade Agreement, I know a lot of people are focused on trade, but there's a service aspect to it, and movement of securities, payment systems, and things like that would fall under this.
Now, that already sounds like quite comprehensive coverage, but are you expecting more African exchanges to get on board after the initial launch in the first quarter of next year?
Yes. So these 7 exchanges are actually pilot exchanges. Once we're up and running, the smaller exchanges would then have a roadmap with which they can join on to the linkage and begin to participate.
And within the Nigerian Stock Exchange itself, can you tell me about the demutualization process that's ongoing?
So our demutualization is really a process of moving from a company that is limited by guarantee, that is not necessarily for profit, to a company that is limited by shares and that operates like a normal corporation. We've been on this journey since 2015, and we've had a law passed, the Demutualization Act, to give a legal framework for executing demutualization. And we recently got a no objection letter from the Securities and Exchange Commission as to our scheme of arrangement and our plans for operationalizing a demutualized exchange. So with that no objection letter, we are moving forward to call a court-ordered meeting and an emergency general meeting. Prior to doing that, we've had to go to the court to get the permission of the court to do that, and we just recently got that. So we'll soon be putting out notices to the membership, the 435 or so members, to participate in these two meetings, and hopefully we can get a yes vote to proceed with the plan to finally demutualize the exchange. The reason why we're doing both an EGM and a court-ordered meeting is that in the court-ordered meeting, we will be looking at some restructuring of the company and proper allocation of capital and resources to drive a post-demutualized exchange that is agile and that is competitive across the African region.
A complex process, but certainly it seems like there's a lot of progress there. Now, looking at this year, it looks like the Nigerian stock market is experiencing some bullishness. Can this rally be sustained in the face of its macroeconomic outlook?
Well, I'm not in the business of predicting, the direction the index would take, but certainly my job is to provide an efficient market platform that allows investors to express themselves in the various products that we offer, and that allows issuers to raise capital to create the necessary street cred, if you will, because of the kind of integrity and branding that is associated with being a listed company. So if we're able to do a good job and the economy continues to improve, we should see the market reflecting that. As you know, the markets are forward indicators. The equity market is a forward indicator of the economy. We should be able to see a lot of that. Having said that, if you look at the fundamentals, a lot of the companies that are listed on the exchange are actually trading below book value because of several structural issues that has happened in the last 2 years. So they are good buys, given the kind of work we've done around corporate governance, around sustainability, and around capacity building. We think that the equity markets continue to be a good play. But at the Nigerian Stock Exchange, we offer not only equities, we also offer fixed income. Our fixed income markets have done phenomenally well. In 2019, we saw over 389% improvement in market turnover, and with regards to primary market activities, so listings, we saw significant improvements in that aspect, and we're now at about 13 trillion naira in market capitalization on the fixed income market. So, and then if you look at our exchange traded fund market, it's second largest in Africa. We now have 10 ETFs listed on the exchange, giving you exposure not only to equities, but to fixed income and to gold. Our gold ETF was the best performing ETF in 2019 on the exchange. So we will continue to execute on our strategies 2018 and 2021. We will continue to work very hard to provide a trusted platform that investors, issuers, and other players in the market can express themselves.
Now, it seems you've already set an example for other exchanges. Kenya, for example, has followed you in floating climate or green bonds. How important do you think the climate is, or climate financing, to African stock exchanges?
Critical. Like I said, here, the top 5 risk aspects that people are looking at, as published in the World Economic Forum risk report, shows that these are critical issues that are top of mind for investors, for policymakers, for regulators, for society at large. And so African exchanges cannot remove themselves from it. We have to be catalysts for getting listed corporates, getting our governments to think green and to think sustainability and to think ESG. And there are specific funds that are now looking for ESG related type investments. BlackRock, the largest fund manager, recently announced that they will now be tying their investments to sustainability. And so it only makes sense for African exchanges to provide those products such as green bonds and social bonds and sustainability bonds that will allow corporates and other issuers to raise capital to drive critical projects that we need that will allow us to leapfrog. So the green bond, the first green bond we did, the sovereign green bond, for example, the money was raised to put solar panels in villages and schools where you didn't have stable power supply. So you're providing power, but in a sustainable way and in a way that is climate friendly. We can talk about a number of other projects that have been financed by the 4 green bonds that have been listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. So I congratulate the Kenyan Stock Exchange for moving in that direction. I congratulate Aecon, the company, the corporate that issued that green bond. And I congratulate the London Stock Exchange, for their partnership in that dual listing effort. As you know, we have a relationship with the London Stock Exchange, and we do dual listings of equity and of bonds. And so, yes, partnerships, cooperation is very much alive in the exchange world. The topic is, are there any safe asset classes today? And somebody from Harvard Business School, talking about volatility and really get into some of these issues that you raised.
Yeah, well, it's good to see you, man.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Nice to see you again soon. He's on paternity, so
You're doing after studio, guys.